labor shortages, inflation, supply chain vulnerabilities, housing pressures, tourism, the cost of food, energy, and shipping charges or surcharges to global capital flows, healthcare supplies, and housing challenges. Is geopolitics stupid? Like they say, it's the economy, the economy, the economy. Look, we're going to extend and expand upon this geopolitics. If you all have been attentive, I know I think it was April 23rd, the Chamber of Commerce held their little lunchtime annual meeting. And in this annual meeting, of course, it's everybody's favorite subject, the state of Bermuda economy. And, actually it's the state of the world's economy, really. And so tonight, we're going to continue in an open mic session, but I'm going to do it also, mixing it up with, yes, I think it's a 10-minute clip that came, it was posted in the Royal Gazette, yeah. Some of you may have heard it and listened to it, that the Chamber of Commerce, Mariko Thompson, chairperson, led that particular seminar of Craig Simmons, the minister, Jason Hayward was a part of it, Douglas Ikuda, Colin Anderson, and Stefano Morich. Yeah. We're going to unpack some of this here. But before we get into it, because I'm going to start with a clip I want us to listen to. I want us to listen to this Shahid Bolson because it places into context the grander geopolitics that many of, well, I wouldn't say the panelists were speaking directly to it. But I like Shahid Bolson's analysis on the geopolitics, the global affairs of the day. And what you're going to listen to is really part 2 of a 4-part series of his on the subject matter. While he may focus on the implications of the empire in ashes, as he describes it, speaking specifically to the state of America, as the preeminent superpower, he really unpacks and dissects and deconstructs the state of America. And because for Bermuda, as we always say, America sneezes and we catch the cold. Well, America sneezes, we catch the cold, and the UK may blow our nose for us. So, given the colony that we are, of course. So, I'm going to play this here, and I want us to listen to it attentively. Have your questions ready, right, that come out of what you hear. Because probably at the top of the hour, I'm going to share and bring into it that 10-minute clip that the panelists spoke to. And there were some, I really want to unpack, I want us to address even some of the bold statements made by our resident economist, lecturer, Craig Simmons. I applaud his boldness in the essential question that he put to the panelists that I'm not sure was answered, of course, but I certainly want to get the full complement of that panelist discussion because it warrants us unpacking it. I think some rich things were in it. I don't think actually the article may have done justice to maybe much of what was discussed. Was mainly, it came across somewhat of a short excerpt and summation of what they had talked about, picking certain questions and so forth. So we're going to listen to that maybe at the top of the hour, and we're going to, I like to bring this in and contextualize the two presentations, integrate it with your own interpretive analysis and questions that you may have heard about coming from the two clips I may share, or even things that you may have heard out there on the street, or things that you may have read, or things that you may have listened to through the numerous talk radio across Bermuda, whether it's on Magic 102.7 or any of the others, 107.5, inter-island communications, yes, or even in Bermuda Broadcasting. There's no shortage of talk radio on the issues of the day. And so we're going to get into some of this here. Let me also add, before we begin, there's a big event that's coming up on Sunday. Brother Glenn Fubler shared it with me. It's the observation of the 45th anniversary of a transformative chapter of our legacy, and I would say the Bermuda legacy. This is a documentary entitled Victory, and in this documentary it will be highlighting past out-of-the-box exemplars of Dr. Barbara Ball, Canon Thomas Nisbet, Reverend Larry Lowe, Police Sergeant Campbell Simons, and it's capturing a period of Bermuda's, let's just say, general strike history, May 1981. It is a period of Bermuda's, that particular general strike, May 1981, was probably most significant because it literally shut the island down economically. And I don't think we've had anything since. So 6 p.m., it's free admission, people. And Sunday, May 3rd, that will be at the Devonshire Recreation Club. And it's always beautiful to see the Devonshire Recreation Club a part of these community events, because political community events, because it has that history. As it does tonight, is my understanding that Curtis Dickerson is entertaining you, the public, we the people, putting out there his principled leadership advocacy for the leadership of the Progressive Labor Party that's coming up in October, I believe. So he's courting constituents and delegates, putting forward his platform. My understanding, it's a platform that rests upon rebuilding Progressive Labor Party on the values of integrity, ethics, and accountability. Let us throw in there respect also. So it'll be interesting here to hear the outcome of some of that tonight. And hey, feel free to call in and give your perspective of what you may have heard or you hear tonight, because I'm sure, and it does tie into the conversation. Now is not the time to call in, people. I'm going to play this clip, and we're going to, like I said, deconstruct it and play it in the context of this whole thing that's going on here in Bermuda and globally. And like I said, a fair Bermuda sounds like Build Back Better and Make America Great Again. These are political slogans. And I'll just give you some excerpts. Economist Craig Simmons, was one of the 6 panelists at the annual Chamber of Commerce meeting. Where he actually asked Corporate Bermuda this essential question. I don't know if it paralyzed them, but and I don't know the depth to which they got into it. But I'm going to be stretching this particular conversation into a part 2 for next week. But the question that Craig Simmons put there: how do we connect people at the bottom of the socioeconomic ladder with you people? And the you people that he was referring to was those on the panel or those in the audience. And Craig Simmons went on to say, people in international business, that's who he was talking about, making a median salary of more than $170,000 a year, that's you people. The only way you can continue to enjoy that lifestyle is if people at the bottom believe that system is rigged against them. They have to believe that the system is fair. And my fear, this is Craig Simmons stating this, my fear is that they will see this game as one they can't win. We can't let that happen. And when you reflect upon that statement and you listen to what comes next, I want you to make connections. I want you to correlate. If you've read that article in the Royal Gazette, I think it was on May. No, it was on May. It was on April 24th, actually. Why would I forget that? It was on April 24th when the article was written. But you're going to hear something in this next clip that I believe connects to it. And I want to place probably more emphasis on this because it somewhat has an answer to, not to say it is the answer, but it somewhat answers something that Craig Simmons posed to the corporate representation at that particular summit or lunchtime meeting. And in this here, you're going to hear Shahid Bolson cite something from Sam Altman. And this has been going on, people, and I'm going to elaborate on this because this is more present in many countries than we may recognize. And he talks about a universal basic income. So I asked this question: what would you do with an additional $1,000 every month? Now, it may sound like financial subsistence too, right? Which it is actually, not may sound like it is that really. So the universal basic income, and when we think of even universal health coverage, can Altman's universal basic income, along with universal health coverage, make for a fair Bermuda, build back better, and make America great again? And keep it in mind, these are political slogans that are thrown at us all the time. So, for the next 30 minutes, tune in, listen, formulate your perspective, your own questions about what you're hearing, and frame where do you hear the 3 C's. I like to say the 3 C's. You make the correlation. As you are making the correlation, Craig Simmons talked about there has to be connections. That's the second C. But correlation, connection in this geopolitical era that we are in right now, economically, socially, politically, is full of corruption also. So those are the 3 C's that you, and you may have some other C's or some other slogans, whatever, that you may connect to it. But those 3, the correlation of our domestic politics to the geopolitics, that the chamber says, hey, that's what's biting us. Craig Simmons says we must make connections between what Corporate Bermuda is doing and what the greater majority of the people find themselves struggling in. Lack of housing, all of the above, right? And of course, elements of corruption. Now, hey, in this clip, you may hear and will hear some of the corruption. It's part 2, so that means we're catching it already in play. Listen up.
You're not doing something that they were not ready for. They were literally provoking you to do it. That's exactly what they wanted you to do, because it's exactly what they are ready for. That's what they're ready for you to do. You understand? You do that, you're not actually doing anything whatsoever except expedite your own oppression.
Now, obviously, this whole system, this whole management system, you can call it, has been intensified and refined, for lack of a better word, to its most extreme form in Palestine. Population classification, movement control, right? Administrative detention without charge, collective punishment, AI-generated targeting lists, facial recognition, and so forth. All of this the Israelis have been doing. Predictive targeting, different legal regimes for different people based upon their classifications. Israel's surveillance and control system has been refined over decades into something that is so comprehensive, that's so technically ruthless, and has been so administratively normalized and so forth. And you never understood this. You never understood that Israel has always just been a research and development contractor for the United States of America, meaning what they develop over there has always been intended for use by America and in America. Do you understand? Gaza and the West Bank and the apartheid system within so-called Israel, this is nothing but a laboratory for developing techniques for domestic deployment in the United States, for American law enforcement, through exchange programs and whatnot, through transfers of training and technology and so forth. They were always developing this as R&D contractors for the U.S. security state. You've misunderstood the relationship. The Israelis, the IDF and so on, coming over and working with the New York Police Department and across the United States, that's not Israel cultivating these relationships. No, this is Israel delivering what America ordered. Do it first to the Palestinians to prove that it works, so that then we can do it domestically in America. The techniques that were tested and perfected against the Palestinians are being transferred directly into American domestic policing and American domestic security infrastructure, because that was always the intention. The people of Gaza, the people of the West Bank, have been the unwilling laboratory in which the tools of your future management have been developed. Do you understand me? This is what I mean about trying to understand the context that you're actually living in. America is not a country in the way that most people, including most Americans, the way that you think about it. No, America is a platform, or it has become anyway, a platform, a territorial and institutional platform through which a global financial class can project power, can accumulate wealth, and can manage populations domestically and around the world. I'm not talking about politicians. Politicians are nothing but employees. They're middle management at best. They serve at the pleasure of the actual ownership class, and they know it. I'm talking about the financial powers, the private sector powers, the owners who sit above the governments, above parties, above elections. That layer that persists regardless of who wins what election. The OCGFC, the owners and controllers of global financialized capital, who have no loyalty to any nation, including America. They have a loyalty only to the perpetuation and the expansion of a private sector power system that they control. The American people are not the constituents of that system. They're just inputs in that system. Inputs like labor, consumption, tax base, military recruitment, political legitimacy through electoral theater. You understand? And the brutal reality is that those inputs that you represent are becoming less and less necessary. Automation is coming. Artificial intelligence is coming. It's restructuring the whole economic rationale for enormous portions of the working population. And the people who own that technology, the people who own the systems that are about to displace tens of millions of workers in America, they're the same people who own the surveillance architecture, the surveillance infrastructure, the surveillance systems, the political infrastructure, the media infrastructure, and the security apparatus. They don't need you the way they used to. And a population that isn't economically necessary to the ownership class is a population that needs to be managed rather than cultivated, rather than appeased. You understand? You're transitioning in their accounting books from being an asset to a liability. And you know what is done with a liability, don't you? No, the counterinsurgency infrastructure that's being built right now in America is not a response to an existing insurgency. It is preparation for the social consequences of mass economic displacement that's already underway. I said the cage is being built before the crisis arrives, so that when the crisis arrives, the cage is ready and they can corral you right on into it. You've got surveillance drones already flying above American cities, not in Afghanistan, not in Yemen, over your own neighborhoods, over your own streets. Drones, mapping, tracking, building a continuous picture of how populations move in your cities, where they gather, where the people gather. Don't you think for a minute that those drones are not going to eventually be armed drones? Yes, they will. You've already got facial recognition infrastructure in your transit systems, your buses, your trains and so forth, in your public spaces, in your commercial environments, obviously in the malls and whatnot. That data is retained and it's cross-referenced with financial data, social media data, employment data, and the behavioral profiles being built by the surveillance architecture. Financial deplatforming as punishment without trial has already happened. No charges, no conviction, no due process. This is already happening in your country. Your account gets closed, your payment processor drops you, your insurance gets denied because you're in a category, You donated to the wrong organization, you attended the wrong event, you shared the wrong posts on social media, and so forth. Why do you think Sam Altman, the owner of OpenAI, why do you think he's now talking about universal basic income and you get excited about that? Like it would be a win. Sam Altman. It's not a win, it's a chain around your throat. It means a financial system, turning the financial system completely into a tool for behavior modification. We lock you into some sort of UBI, universal basic income, and at the same time we dismantle your means of earning an independent income. Now we decide whether you eat or not. You understand me? You expand now the definition of domestic terrorism so it can cover any sort of coherent opposition to the system, not violence, not real terrorism, just opposition. Think about it. The same way that the U.S. previously created a dollar dependency system all around the world, how they created dollar dependency globally, and that enabled them to economically punish countries through unilateral sanctions. Okay, well, this same concept is now being tailored on an individualized basis for the domestic population through this UBI concept. See, now you've got those homeless detention center or that homeless detention facility in Utah, which is clearly not about homelessness. You've got fusion centers that are collating data on people across federal, state, and corporate layers. You've got predictive policing algorithms. You've got employer background checks that are going to be ideological. We're talking about a control system, a very totalistic control system, where your classification, understand, your classification, not your actions, your classification is going to determine your access to employment, to financial services, to movement, whether or not you have any income whatsoever. This is not the future I'm talking about. This is the present, just in various stages of development. It's already happening. This is why I'm telling you, you have to understand the context that you live in. You have to understand the trajectory that your society is on. And you cannot come up with tactics, you cannot come up with strategies to try to help yourself if you do not understand the context that you live in. You're not reading the room. I don't know how anyone could get excited about the prospect of UBI in 2026, living in the system that you're living in, and think that it's going to be anything other than a tool of totalistic control over you. Do you remember the pandemic, or after the pandemic, they were talking about build back better, all that build back better rhetoric? Well, let's talk about what they built. Enough time has passed. Let's look at what they actually built. Look at the actual thing. Look at the receipts. You can lie about all sorts of things in this world. You can lie about your intentions. You can lie about your motives. You can lie about what you believe in, right? You can lie about all sorts of things. And no one can ever really be sure whether any of what you say is true. But your actions, though, your actions are what they are. So you can talk about we're going to build back better, but now time has passed. So we can look at what's been built or what hasn't been built. The building is the building and the wreckage is the wreckage. Either you built or you didn't build, and either it's better or it's not better. Now we can look at that. So let's look at America since they started this whole build back better nonsense, or you can even say this make America greater nonsense. Start with the bankruptcies. In 2024, American business bankruptcies hit the highest level that they had ever hit since 2017, over 23,000 businesses. In 2025, that went even higher, 25,000. Large corporate bankruptcies, the billion-dollar-plus failures, that hit the highest level since the so-called Great Recession since 2010. We're talking years after you started building back better. You understand? The big corporate bankruptcies through the first half of 2025 were running 43% above pre-pandemic averages. 43% higher. Build back better. Make America great again. You built the worst bankruptcy numbers since the financial crisis. That's what you built. Okay, look at the layoffs. In 2025, over 1.2 million jobs were cut in a single year. That's the highest number since 2020. And 2020 was the pandemic. In Q4 of 2025, 260,000 layoffs were announced. That's the highest Q4 since 2008. No pandemic, no crisis. In October 2025 alone, just in October, 153,000 job cuts. That's up 175 year on year. January 2026, 108,000 cuts in a single month. That's the highest January since 2009. And plans for new hires of all of 2025 was only 507,000. That's the lowest since 2010. Listen to me. While they were telling you that the economy was getting stronger, they were making it better, they're building it back better, and so forth, American companies were announcing more layoffs than in any single year since the Great Recession, so-called. And the hiring that's supposed to offset the firing, hit a 15-year low. That's what they built. A labor market that's going in reverse. And look at your debt. In early 2020, pandemic time, the U.S. national debt was roughly $23 trillion. In March 2026, it's $39 trillion. $39 trillion. $16 trillion in new debt in just 5 years, while you're building back better. The United States government added more debt in 5 years than that country took in its first 200 years combined. And it's accelerating. The debt went from $38 trillion to $39 trillion in less than 5 months. That's the fastest $1,000 billion jump in American peacetime so-called history. In 2020, America paid $345 billion to service their debt. And in fiscal 2025, you paid $1 trillion. Tripled in 5 years. In 2024, interest payments on the national debt surpassed Medicare spending, surpassed national defense spending. Hear me on this. The biggest line item in the United States federal budget, the biggest line item, is no longer health care for the elderly, is not even the military. The biggest line item in the American federal budget is the interest that the American government owes to its creditors. They're building a country whose biggest job is to pay rent on the money that they already spent. Household debt, record highs, $18.6 trillion. Credit card debt alone crossed $1.27 trillion. That's the highest that it's ever been recorded since they started tracking it in 1999. In the poorest American neighborhoods, the share of credit card debt that's gone seriously delinquent, that means that it's 90 days or more late, that went from 12% in the third quarter of 2022 to 20% by the first quarter of 2025. That means $1 in $5 of credit card debt in poor neighborhoods is 90 days late. So think about what that means. Think about what that means. 90 days late means they're not paying, means they can't pay, means the phone is ringing, means the statements are piling up, the bills are piling up, means the late fees are piling up, means the interest rate just jumped up to 29.99%, means they're not coming back from that. They're not coming back from that. That's a bankruptcy, that's an eviction, that's homelessness about to happen. The Federal Reserve, the Fed itself, not some activist think tank, not some NGO, not some charity, the Fed itself said that credit card delinquency is reaching levels that we saw only in the 2008 financial crisis. But now it's not happening because of some crisis. It's not happening because of some pandemic. It's just the way it is. They counted 771,000 Americans that are homeless on a single night in January 2024. And that was an 18% jump in 1 year. The largest single year jump ever recorded. The highest total since the Housing and Urban Development started even counting the numbers in 2007. Families with children was up 40% in 1 year. Nearly 150,000 American children are unhoused on a single cold January night. Chronic homelessness, 152,000 people, double what it was in the 2010s. And chronic homelessness is at 152,000. That's double what it was in the mid-2010s. Build Back Better built that. You understand me? 150,000 homeless American children in the richest country on earth in a January. You've got foreclosures at record highs. You've got evictions at record highs. Foreclosure starts in 2025 was up 213% from the 2021 year low. Home insurance premiums are up 61% from 2022 to 2024. 61% in 2 years. The cost of keeping a roof over your head is crushing anyone who owns their home. And evictions, just look at, for example, Phoenix, Arizona in 2024. 86,000, almost 87,000 evictions filed. That's an eviction every 6 minutes. Every 6 minutes of every hour of every day of every week of every month of the entire year. A Phoenix landlord was filing court paperwork to kick a family out on the street every 6 minutes. 9 out of 35 American cities have eviction rates above 10%. That's one filing for every 10 renting households every year. That's what they built. That's making America great again. A country where millions upon millions of people are being put out on the street by court order. I told you they can make you homeless anytime they want. Look at the retail sector. They're destroying, they're dismantling your economy. Look at the retail sector. In 2024, 7,327 stores closed. That's up 58% from the year before. 2025, an estimated 15,000 stores closed. That's double the previous year. Walgreens, 1,200 stores over 3 years were closed. Macy's, 150. CVS, 586 in 2024 alone. Rite Aid, 408. Family Dollar, 700. Party City, every single store. Big Lots, bankrupt. Joann, liquidated. Foot Locker, sold off. These aren't just store closures. These are pharmacy deserts you're creating. There are now entire neighborhoods where your grandma can't fulfill her prescription anymore. These are whole malls that are dying. These are abandoned big box buildings with broken lights rotting in the sun. Build Back Better, Make America Great Again, built a country, made a country where the local pharmacy is boarded up and the next nearest one is 30 miles down the highway. You need to understand what I'm telling you. This is exactly what they mean by Build Back Better. This is what they mean. It's not a mistake, because this is what they think is better, because it's better for them. They never meant Build Back Better as in better for you. They're not building anything for you. I mean, you can look at construction, literally building, they're not. Housing starts in May 2025 was at a 5-year low. Single family housing starts for the 12 months ending in November 2025 was down 11%. Manufacturing construction starts were down 14%. Office construction down 15% over 2 years. In 2024 alone, 19,000 homes that should have been built never got built. $8 billion in lost economic activity. Not because of demand, because of a shortage of skilled workers to do the work, to do the building. You built a country that can't even build your own houses. And look at your infrastructure. The American Society of Civil Engineers, these are the people who actually do the inspections. They actually do the inspections of the bridges, the dams, the water systems, all the infrastructure and whatnot. We're not talking about politicians or pundits or what have you, actual engineers. They gave American infrastructure a C, a grade of C in 2025. And 9 out of 18 categories, they're still in the D range. So that means half of the categories you're barely passing. Talking about stormwater, transit, schools, drinking water, wastewater, and so forth. And the investment gap, which is the difference between what is planned and what is needed in order to bring the country's infrastructure up to a functioning standard, that gap is $3.7 trillion. And here's the kicker. During your Build Back Better period, that gap grew. 4 years ago, it was $2.59 trillion. After all the infrastructure spending, after all the bipartisan legislation, after all the Build Back Better ribbon cuttings and the speeches about rebuilding America and make America great again and whatnot, the shortfall got bigger by over $1 trillion. 22,000 American bridges are vulnerable to extreme weather. They could crumble down. They could fall apart. 39% of major American roads are in poor or mediocre condition. Build Back Better, Make America Great Again spent more money on infrastructure than any program in American history, but that infrastructure got farther from where it needs to be. Not to mention your schools. Public school enrollment in America is down by 1.2 million children since the pandemic, and it's projected to drop another 5% by 2031. In Houston, they closed 12 schools. In Austin, they closed 10. In Broward County, the 6th largest school district in America, they lost nearly 10,000 students in 1 year. Do you know that Boston is considering closing half of all of their public schools? At least 12 nonprofit colleges, nonprofit universities closed or merged to save money in 2025 alone. The Philadelphia Federal Reserve says that we could be looking at 80 college closures every year under the worst case scenario over the next several years. They built a country where the schoolhouse is going dark, classroom by classroom, city by city, district by district. But don't worry, they have plans. They have plans for you. They have plans for you. They know just what to do with you. Like I said, detention. In August 2019, that was the previous high water mark of detentions. ICE was holding 55,000 people. By mid-January 2026, that's 73,000. That's the highest number in American history. And the administration has publicly said that they are aiming to detain 100,000. 91% more detention facilities in 11 months while schools are closing. $45 billion new dollars from the one big beautiful bill. Fort Bliss, a military base, was converted into a detention site. You have the Florida Everglades, where they turned an open-air prison camp that they actually call Alligator Alcatraz. They opened that up, putting people in there, and only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows what happened to those people. The number of people who are being held in ICE detention with no criminal record, with no conviction, not even a charge, never stood before a judge, that went up 2,450%, 2,450% increase in the number of detainees. You understand? For every one person that gets released pending a hearing, 14 more are deported straight out of detention. 2025 was the deadliest year in the history of ICE, in the history of ICE detention. And 2026 is on pace to be even worse. The American Immigration Council says that the detention infrastructure that they've built is on track to rival the entire federal criminal prison system, the entire existing criminal prison system in the next 3 years. Understand what that means. They are building a second prison system, bigger than the first one. And let me give you some more context about your situation in America, so you know where you are and what your situation is. From the start of 2022 to the end of 2025, 4 years, your American police killed more than 5,000 people. 5,000 people in 4 years. That's an average of 3.5 people per day. 5,000 in 4 years. That's an average of 3.5 people per day, every single day. Every day for 4 years straight, 3.5 people were murdered by your police. In 2022, it was 1,176 people were killed. That was a record at the time. In 2023, 1,213 people were killed. That was a new record. Then in 2024, you broke the record again. 1,365 people were murdered. You understand that there was only 6 days. There was only 6 days in all of 2025 out of 365 days when American police did not kill someone. Just for 1 week. Just 1 week out of the year, the entire year, the American police force took a break from killing people. The other 51 weeks, they killed. Now listen to the racial breakdown, because this is the part that really tells you what kind of a country you're living in, what kind of a place that really is. So-called black Americans, African Americans, are 12% of the population in America, but they're 24% of the dead who are shot by the police. 1 in 4 of the people who are killed by the police is a so-called black American. An African American, in a country where only 1 in 8 people is a black American. No, black men are killed by the police, by American police, at nearly 3 times the rate of white men, per capita, per person, per body. And the killers walk. The killers walk. Less than 3% of police killings ever result in any criminal charges whatsoever. And even when they do have criminal charges, less than 1% ever result in a conviction. For 4 years straight, American police have killed on average 3.5 people per day, and more than 97 out of every 100 officers who did the killing walked away. No charge, no trial, no consequence. Back on the street, back in the cruiser, back on patrol, back on the hunt. Compare that to the UK. You got 60 million people over there. For the entire year of 2024 to 2025, English police shot and killed 2 people. Just 2. In California alone, 143 police shootings in 2025. You understand? You built a country where the police kill at a rate 70 times that of a peer so-called democracy, and call it building back better and making America great again. You built a courthouse system where the killers are protected. You built a media environment where the names of the victims are forgotten before the funeral is even over. And this is all building a psyche in your country. It's building a mentality in your country. You are given a lesson that gets repeated every single day, 3.5 times a day for 4 years running. And the lesson is this: your body does not belong to you. Your life is available to be taken by the state at any time. You may be unarmed. You may be fleeing. You may be in a mental health crisis. You might be sitting in your own living room. You might be sitting in your own car. And an officer of the state can end your life and nothing will happen to him. That's the lesson that you've all learned. They've taught you that lesson 5,000 times in the last 4 years. I've been telling you, your country has betrayed you. Your country has betrayed you. They've decided that you are redundant. Nobody cares about your well-being. Nobody cares about your safety. Nobody cares about your prosperity. No, they're actively dismantling your country. One administration calls that dismantling Build Back Better. The other administration calls that dismantling Make America Great Again. But they're both doing the same thing. This is the context that you're living in. You had 315 farm bankruptcies in 2025. That was a 46% increase in 1 year, just 1 year. The second straight year of increases. In the American Midwest, in the grain belt, farm bankruptcy filings jumped 70%. Bankruptcies. Farm income hit a 4-year low. That's down 24% in 2 years. No one is surviving. Total farm debt is hitting a record of $624 billion in 2026. Just interest costs to the farm economy alone is $33 billion. American farmers are borrowing more at higher rates for longer terms just to stay alive for one more season. One agricultural lender, creditor, said it very plainly. He said that the largest amount of farmers that he's ever seen in his career have just stopped farming. You understand, this is usually people who've been farming for generations. They're not even switching lenders, they're just stopping. You built a countryside of defaulted farms. I'm telling you, the velocity of your erosion is absolutely staggering. And everyone can see it. International tourism to the United States dropped for the first time since the pandemic. 8% drop in 2025. That's the first decline since 2020, when no one was even traveling. In March 2025, Western European visits to the United States was down 17%. That's the first drop since 2021. Canada, forget about it. 25% fewer visitors are going to America from Canada. 37% drop in land arrivals in a single month. 1 million fewer international visitors in the first half of 2025 compared to the same period in 2024. Nobody wants to even go there. The United States is running a $50 billion trade travel deficit. That means 50 billion more American dollars are going out to foreign destinations than foreign dollars are coming in. And listen to this, the United States share of global international travel, the travel economy, is going to just be 4.2%. That's your share, 4.2%. France is even growing. Greece is even growing in their percentage. Mexico is growing. But the United States of America as a destination, as a place that people on this planet actually want to go to, is shrinking. Build back better. You built a country that people from other countries don't even want to visit anymore. Not even for tourism. And the Americans themselves, the citizens themselves, in 2024, 4,820 Americans formally renounced their citizenship. Now for context, before 2009, the average number of Americans renouncing their citizenship was just 200 to 400 per year. The 5-year total from 2020 to 2024 was 21,000 people. That is 39% of every expatriation since the IRS even started tracking in 1996. Means nearly 4 out of every 10 Americans who have ever renounced their citizenship did so in the last 5 years. 49% of American expats living abroad are seriously considering renouncing their citizenship. That's a 63% jump in just 1 year. Half of the Americans who are living outside of that country are thinking about giving up their passport. Think about what that tells you about what they think of the country that they're still technically citizens of. Once they see countries outside. I said you're the Titanic. Your country is the Titanic. In 2024, the American birth rate hit the lowest level ever recorded, 1.6 births per woman. That's down 22% since 2007. 687,000 fewer babies were born in 2024 than in 2007. In a country with more women of childbearing age than it had in 2007. They're not having children. You can't afford to have children. You don't even believe that the country you live in will support the children that you already have, much less bring more children into the world. Isn't that right? That's how you think. That's why the birth rate falls and falls and falls. And with it, your whole country. Since 2020, 133 rural hospitals even stopped delivering babies. You understand? More than 2 rural maternity wards are closing every single month. Every month for the last 5 years. Only 41% of rural American hospitals can even deliver a baby now. In 12 states, it's less than 1/3. A woman in labor in rural America may have to travel for an hour before she can get to the hospital. Travel an hour to get to a hospital in the richest country in the world. And in 2024, for the first time since the CDC started tracking it, suicide in your country has entered the top 10 causes of death in the United States. Top 10. You understand? Americans are killing themselves at rates that now rank with heart disease, at rates that rank with cancer, at how that country's people die. Yes, they told you build back better. They told you make America great again. That's what we're doing here. But what they built, what they made is the worst bankruptcy numbers since the Great Recession. What they built, what they made is the worst layoff year outside of any sort of a pandemic or any sort of a financial crisis. They built a $39 trillion debt. They built a record homelessness in the country. They built record credit card debt, household debt with record delinquencies that's never going to get paid off. You built or you made 15,000 closed stores in a single year. You built or you made a collapsing birth rate. You built or you made closing rural hospitals. You built a country where suicide is now a top 10 killer. You built a detention system that's holding more people than it ever has. You built a deportation pipeline that's operating at industrial scale. You built a police force that kills 3.5 people every single day and almost never answers for it. You built an infrastructure investment program that left the investment gap bigger than when it started. They built a citizenry where half of the expats who get out of that country, who have a chance to get out of that country, want to renounce their citizenship. All this time they were telling you they were fixing things. All this time they were telling you they were going to make it great, they were going to make it better. You never understood. They only meant better for them. They only meant great for them. But you need to understand that better for them means worse for you. And great for them means misery for you.
Whoa. 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 Hey, we ain't wasting no time on this one here. Got some online responses to what they heard and also what folk have read, but let me go to the lines. Good night, you're on all fronts.
Good evening, Brother Lou.
Good evening.
You hear me? Can you hear me well?
I can hear you well. I can hear you well, yeah.
Good, good, good. So, Brother Lou, I found the portion you just aired to be somewhat problematic.
Okay.
Of course, the gentleman got my attention when he spoke on, blacks being killed by police. But I find it problematic, Brother Lou, because I'm a man. I'm the sort of person that when I look at any kind of research or presentation, people putting out numbers, that sort of thing, I look at sources. I don't do just people just speaking out of their mouths without sources. I don't do that. And so I'm not impressed, quite frankly, with the gentleman, because he did not source not one bit of information he put up, not one bit. Although it sounded credible. It did. He sounded quite credible. And let me tell you why. How it does. It's called embellishment. And so when you take an actual source, a credible source, and for example, if a credible source says 2,500 black men are killed by police every year, right? You take that credible source, you omit the actual name of the source, and you put out a number of 3,500 instead. And it comes across as being credible. Because you're actually going to read parts of what the source puts out. You're going to take that, attach a false number to it, and then so it again sounds quite credible to the audience. I'm not impressed that people don't quote sources.
Right. Let me just say, in the interest of time, while we always look for speakers to give sources, I can tell you that's well researched and presented, right? That's there's nothing he said that isn't factual. That's documented evidence, right? The numbers given. You're listening to something and receiving it as he is speaking it. I'm listening to it, having listened to it, having researched what he's talking about, validating what he's talking about. So it's factual. It's factual in terms of in terms of the statistics that he just gave. In terms of, for example, let's get past the slogans. We say fear Bermuda, build back better is what the Democrats use. It's what make America great again. We hear all of that. But in terms of the statistics, in terms of the stats are accurate with what he's talking about. In terms of the decline of the American economy, there's no doubt about it. I mean, there's enough evidence in research. Search it. All I'm saying to you, what you may doubt, search it. I've searched it. It's research evidence. That's all I'm saying. So you're saying you don't believe some of the stats. I'm saying to you, follow up the evidence by researching it yourself to validate what you heard.
I'm not saying I don't believe. I don't believe either way. What I'm saying is that when you don't put out a source, but she did not put out not one.
Well. Let's do this here, and I want to take the next. I'm going to take what you said. Here's the correlation.
Why I can't get my point out?
No, you are getting your point out. You got your point out. But here's the correlation. I'm not going to let you do a dissertation on your point. You got your point out.
I'm only asking that I finish up, that I land. Right? You said your piece, and so I want to respond and land. And so what I'm saying,
you're not going to respond your piece.
Yeah, thank you. And so you said that you can back up pretty much everything he says and all that sort of stuff.
There's documented evidence, right. Research evidence, yes.
What I'm saying at the end of the day, Brother Lou, what I'm saying is that when you come to an audience and you give a presentation, you must present sources. If you don't present sources, then the audience has the right to dismiss just about everything you say. You can't come to an esteemed audience like people who have accreditation in various areas. You are not permitted to come to an audience like that.
Right.
The people have actually done research, who have credibility, have all kinds of numbers in front and behind their name, and not quote a single source.
Well, he quoted a number of sources.
Academia does not allow that.
He quoted. I'm going to use this source that he quoted.
Academia does not allow that.
I'm going to use this source that he quoted. You may have heard it. Right? He cited Sam Altman in terms of the universal basic income. Right? He cited that, Sam Altman. And when he cited Sam Altman universal basic income, it also had me thinking about, we've been talking living income, the living income cited. We've been talking about a living income. So he cited Sam Altman as a universal basic income as one of the things of his presentation that captured my attention. So he did cite something. But let me take the next caller. Feel free to call back in and strengthen your argument. But while you're doing it, go online. Research what he talked about. It's right there. Good night. You're on all fronts.
Yes, good evening.
Good evening.
Lou.
Yes, sir.
How you doing?
All right.
Sometimes it's hard to listen to some of your callers when they haven't took the time out to research, or come back and quote, or something that they have found to disagree. With the presentation that's been presented. But I'm going on to something that the gentleman said, which is quite correct, which we see every night on a daily newscast, no matter which one you look at.
Right.
And that is the situation with the ICE detentions. With President Trump now going to try to obtain all the empty warehouse space that he can get his hands on to turn into detention centers.
Not opinion; those are facts.
Those
are all facts.
Looking at you.
Yeah,
that's what's going on.
Yeah, those are facts.
Now I'm going to stick to my lane in what I know that I got a half a degree in. That is tourism.
All right.
When the gentleman spoke about the U.S. losing tourism, which another fact is correct.
That's correct. There is a decline in their tourism.
Exactly. So I'm going to go take this tourism thing to the local content.
And let me just say, there's a reason why those World Cup tickets are as expensive as they are. Okay?
Exactly.
There you go.
And then again, President Trump is going to turn that World Cup thing upside down, too.
Yes, he has.
But you understand what I'm saying?
There's a tourism connection to that, but go ahead.
A connection to that.
That's a correlation.
He don't want no African teams playing in the World Cup.
Well, hey, but he can't stop that with the beautiful game, but go ahead.
But
that's a correlation. Tourism.
That's it. So where I was taking my tourism line into the local content,
go ahead,
is because it's going to be very difficult for the Bermuda Tourism Authority to come to the people of the island and tell the people of the island that tourism is up. When tourism right now, today, it is down by 7% in the Caribbean. It's down by 4.5% with cruise ships.
Right.
So I'm not going to buy the figures or the numbers that the BTA is going to put out to us on that front.
And it's still early. Our season is, quote unquote, just starting.
But that's another thing. Our season in Bermuda is such a short window.
Yeah.
It's only 17-week season.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So we are now getting into May. May now should be getting to regular cruise ship schedules all the way through for the rest of the season.
Until when? September, correct? October?
Until September, correct.
Yeah.
And you already had 3 cruise ships canceled. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
All right. Now, going back, I've got one more thing, and I'm out the way because
I appreciate it.
Yeah. Be looking out for. He said something about the U.S. government not looking out for these people. I will get around to the shooting of African Americans at a later date.
Right.
But not looking out for their people, it's also a true concept and fact. Because right now the Trump administration is not looking out for their people. Right now, the Elon Musk, when Trump went into power, what was his job? To cut down the workforce. The numbers he quoted at 100, I think it was 108,000 in the first quarter. We're talking about the first 4 months of the year, you know.
Yeah, and let me just say this here. There's a part 3 to that presentation where he really breaks it down and cites and deconstructs Elon Musk, the implications of his time in with the Trump administration, and how he basically dismantled that section of labor, right?
That is correct.
To really pad his own purse.
Right.
And they're speaking, he shares in terms of, he shares the wealth of Musk during the pandemic, and then when he came into this first year under Trump, how much he made and how much he left with.
Okay, now I'm done with this one.
Yeah, go ahead, then I want to take next caller.
Correct about.
Yeah.
Now, I just came out of Atlanta last Friday night because of the fire situation that's going on. Where I live to in Atlanta, the nearest shopping mall to me is 28 minutes away. I passed that shopping mall, and you know what I see now? A whole shopping mall? Plywood. The car park is chained up and empty. The CVS market...
You see it across America. The Midwest is full of it.
I'm telling you, now I have to drive like 37 minutes to go to the nearest pharmacy to get a package of aspirins. But yeah, I'll let somebody else get on. But that dissertation was right on point. That was one of the best I've heard so far. You have a good night, man.
I appreciate it, brother. Good night, you on all fronts. Oops, lost you. Feel free to call back. You know, and again, connection. You know, Mariko Thomas, he said it, you know, the geopolitics shows up in everything from the cost of food and energy, shipping surcharges, global capital flows, healthcare supplies, housing challenges. We know what that is in Bermuda. Tourism. And when you talk about, as he indicated, I mean, shoot, the labor shortages, inflation, supply chain, all those supply chain vulnerabilities, housing pressures, I said that, tourism. So these are the connections. These are, you know, while you take what Shahid Bolson shared, you could take those that Mariko talked about and fit them right into his presentation. Let me take you next. Good night, you and all friends.
Good evening, Dr. Lewis.
Good evening.
I'd just like to touch on a few of the points that affects us in Bermuda.
I appreciate it. Go ahead.
Yeah. My first one would be, it's questionable, the CARICOM. We spend $228,000 a year to be an associate member of CARICOM. And the question has been asked several times, and nobody's answered it yet. What are we getting out of that $228,000? And if we become a full member, it's $2.2 million. Now, to my knowledge, we haven't even gotten so much as a slice of bread out of that $228,000. Nothing. Nobody will answer it. You know, nobody can answer it. Now, my second point is this: the government saying about the medical and the pension is failing, and the GEHI is put up the workers and the pensioners medical $50.
Right.
And I called them and asked them about it, and they're going to put the price up again another $50 next year, March. I mean, it's affecting the retired people. You know, that thing doesn't seem to have been managed very well. You know, this GEHI and this medical and this superannuation, the rest of it, that needs to be sorted out. The next point I want to go on to is the government made a promise, I think it was 2023, on housing, putting housing up at Morgan's Point.
Right.
And I've been watching and waiting to see when this housing is going up. Now it seems like they forgot about that, and they want to bring in these containers to stick people in containers. You know, we've got a company here that built some really nice-looking Bermuda houses that's reasonably priced, and they don't want to go with that. They seem determined to go with these little stupid-looking little containers. You know, we've got the Grand Atlantic Bermudiana up there. That was supposed to be affordable housing for Bermudians. Now they turned it into housing for IB companies, because only IB people are going to be able to afford it $3,000 to $7,000 a month. It's absolutely ridiculous. And talking about putting these containers around the island, no, those things are ugly. That's no point. My next point is...
Go ahead. Your next point.
My next point will be the roads in Bermuda. Now, when you put asphalt on, that asphalt is supposed to last 10 to 15 years, a minimum of 10 to 15 years, and even beyond. Now, it's not doing what it's supposed to do, because it's false. What they're putting on is false. And I can actually say, and I've said it before on a couple of these folks, that asphalt that they put on, and the one you can watch, the one in St. George's,
right?
Anywhere from 2 months to 2 years, that asphalt is going to fail. Now, I made a statement to Chris Famous on one of his shows when he was talking about the asphalt they put on up by Henry VIII. And I looked at it and I said, that asphalt is going to fail in 2 months. And in a month and a half, that asphalt failed. It's bleeding. It's up there, it's bleeding. You can see it. It's all this googly, gubbly stuff coming up. Right. It's melting. You see? Now, my final point is to do with America. I don't know if you all, the people that noticed it yesterday with Donald Trump when he was talking a speech with King Charles.
Right.
And he made a statement. He said that America belongs to the Anglo-Saxons. I don't know how many people noticed that or heard that. He left out the African Americans. He left out the indigenous Indians and all of that. He's saying after the War of Independence with Britain, and as time went along, and he says America belongs to the Anglo-Saxons.
And let me just say, he may have said that there. I would say, if those of you had listened to King Charles's speech, I would say that King Charles' speech trumped Trump. He checkmate him with that statement when you listen to his speech. Actually, it's probably one of the better speeches I've ever heard King Charles give. if I'm to be sincere and honest about what I was listening to. And by the way, everyone's getting ready here for the king is coming. But hey,
a few other statements he made that sort of challenged Donald Trump quietly.
Yes, he did, and it warrants really. I'm going to be listening to that speech again and again because to pick it apart, which is something I like to do, but it has a lot of merit in terms of when you talk about the greater scheme of things in the geopolitics. But one thing was clear about that speech: the British and the Americans will always be bed partners. Always be.
That's right. That's right.
No matter what. By the way,
that's right.
No matter what. Okay. Well, I appreciate you calling in, my brother.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, man.
Good evening.
Yeah. Next caller. You on all fronts? Go ahead. We're listening. Hello.
Hey, Lou.
Yes.
I'll tell you one thing that Mariko didn't talk about. The rise of income and wealth inequality in Bermuda. That's not opinion, that's fact. And it's coming from the international business sector.
Yeah.
But Bermuda Negroes, how dare he talk about the international business sector? Mm-hmm. How dare he? That's the reality. Mm-hmm. Okay? That's the fact. You've got a per capita GDP per capita of $138,935. Where is that coming from?
Yeah.
Who's earning that?
Let me ask you this here. Let me ask you this here with what you're saying, because you have been, again, consistent in terms of minimum wage, living income, living wage, and all of that. When I heard, even in the clip that I played prior, and the Sam Altman piece in terms of a universal basic income, I had you in mind, when I heard it. And it had me asking the question, is a living income the same as a universal basic income? Which it isn't, but they overlap somehow. But they draw upon somewhat of the same. And I wanted to at least get maybe some of your perspective or anyone else, but certainly your perspective, given that you're on the line, when you talk about a universal basic income, right? And I want to frame it. A universal basic income is a flat payment provided by the state to all citizens, regardless of income or work status. Now it's unlike traditional welfare systems. A UBI is simple and unconditional, it says. Now, of course, Shaheed Bolson certainly questioned Sam Altman's presentation of a universal basic income. But when you think in terms of much of what you have been putting out there and others around living wage and living income, what would be your take of a living income in the context of, I think it was something that Craig Simmons here, and I wrote down the question. Craig was making the argument of, having to make a social connection. So how do you see the living income as a part of that social connection that even a Craig Simmons implied?
Well, I don't know what Craig Simmons says. I do know I read in the paper the other day. Mm-hmm. It didn't sound like he was shooting in favor of supporting with the necessary public policies that those who are suffering under low wages in Bermuda.
Right, and I'm going to share the clip afterwards, but go ahead.
They don't even talk the talk, no less walk the walk. Mm-hmm. Okay, because that's been one of the fundamental problems, even not just here, but in the United States as well. Although I don't want to talk about the United States, I want to talk about Bermuda, mm-hmm. and in relation to other countries, small islands that have black majorities. Mm-hmm. Okay, in America, our brothers and sisters there live as minorities in a hostile country that has shown great animus towards people of color.
Which we heard in the clip. Yeah, go ahead.
Right. So in Bermuda, that's a problem that we have long faced here.
Right.
And it's sad that it's happening in a country where black Bermudians are the majority, but continue to act as if they're a minority. Mm-hmm. That's the problem. Mm-hmm. and they're quite happy to continue living like that.
You're answering that question that was even in the clip. What category do you fall into? And you just identified the category that the majority here place themselves in.
Yes. And I mean, look, the day before the budget was read, you had Craig Simmons, who made some wisecrack, right? Demeaning low-income people, black Bermudians, in relation to that budget. And I'm going to paraphrase, I don't remember exactly what he said.
Oh, well, yeah, I would want to...
that the government should not, act like Oprah Winfrey and give out freebies to poor people. Now, he didn't even have the guts, Mr. Salt, as Craig Simmons, to even say black people. But we get it. Okay? So that's where his at. Okay? Now, in terms of...
Yeah, I would need to listen to what he said before I respond, but go ahead.
It's in the paper. I sent it to you. It's in the paper. That's what he said. Come on now. That's who he is. Right. Now, as to Mariko Thomas, right, here's part of the problem. I said it some weeks ago. How is he part of the problem? He's part of the problem because the business model of the merchant class, and you should read that comment we got from Brother Robinson, the Chancellor of the University of West Indies. Because in that sweeping analysis of where we are at, right? Nobody's coming to save us, if you remember that.
Yes.
He talked about the regressive role of the merchant class in these islands as being part of the problem. And all you Bermuda Negroes out there, he's got a great business. At what expense? At what expense do we have these great businesses around here? Who pay the business model predicated upon paying low-cost, low-skilled foreign labor to drive down wages.
Right.
Like those 5 or 6 men of Indian descent in that picture you saw a few weeks ago, living in one bedroom.
Yeah.
Okay? That comes at the expense of your brother, your nephew, your cousin. That's what the price you paid, Mr. Black Bermuda. You want to face that? Huh? That's opinion? It's not fact? You going to tell me it's not fact?
That's fact. Yeah.
Okay, so, I mean, I don't need to hear somebody from the U.S.
Well, it's not even so much hearing. You can't dismiss the fact of our connections to that geopolitics. Matter of fact, you articulate it every day on social media, making the connections in terms of what we see going on with the U.S., Israel, Palestine, Iran, and the implications it has for Bermuda. So it's never, in terms of the connection to our domestic politics, there's never a separation to me of the implications of the geopolitics to Bermuda.
The connection I make is about the impact of the resurgent white supremacy in control of the most powerful country in the world. Is seeking to maintain its hegemony and dominance of the world at any cost, as the Anglo-American empire is in decline. Okay, that's the connection I'm making.
And it's the same connection of Shahid Bosen when he talks about the empire in ashes. It's the same thing. Yeah.
But we can sit here and basically make those same stats come alive in a context, but we don't do that. Oh no.
Yeah.
Your government doesn't do it. They have no intention of addressing it.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, because even when you're right, but when we listen to these type of statistics running, I'm always perplexed in terms of why we do not in Bermuda break down the data that way for our people. I mean, certainly
don't say break down. Say be honest.
Or to be honest in terms of putting that data out there, because that is the type of research data that we should be speaking to. I mean, we consistently articulate the number of Bermudians between 2021, 2022, and now who have left the island. I mean, we hear 10,000, for example. It will be great to know, yes, those 10,000 Bermudians, and from where in Bermuda did they leave from? Because it has implications, yes, on terms of the social fabric of where they left. you know, and those are important things for us in Bermuda to know. I mean, certainly certainly in our neighborhoods, in our localities, we can identify who left.
I don't necessarily agree with you, Lou.
Okay.
And I seldom find myself, I don't agree with you. We're not talking about Bermudians. Stop saying Bermudian. That's another problem.
No, I'm saying black Bermudians. The black Bermudians who left.
The problem here is racial disparities. That's the major problem here. Okay? When you have 7,300 black Bermudians who have health insurance, no opinion. That's fact.
Yeah.
Let somebody cry to you tomorrow morning and say, oh, here he goes again. He's just giving us opinion, Lou. Why is he attacking international business?
Let me play the clip.
When you have 93% of your home is not black men.
Yeah.
Well, don't talk about the murder stats amongst black men. And especially when you do per capita, as Vic Ball did about 10, 15 weeks ago. I mean, that was heartbreaking.
Yeah.
When you put the stats of 100 and something, 38, I think, somewhere in that range of black men who have been murdered over a decade, and then you do the mathematics here, if that's the right word, around when you do it comparative per capita, right?
Right.
What it really looks like in relation to major countries. Bermuda's right up there when you do that per capita.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, black men.
Very much a part of the data. Let me share this clip. Feel free to come back in. Feel free to come back in. Well, it's important. Feel free to come back in. Feel free to come back in. All right, I want to play this clip, and this is the part of the panelists. Like I said, Mariko Thomas, Craig Simmons, the Minister Jason Hayward, Colin, and others. Susa, Dakota. I mean, listen up. Alrighty, hold on. That's a minute.
Shows up in the cost of doing business through shipping surcharges, increase.
All right, I've got an audio issue here.
Shows up in healthcare through global supply chains.
Oh Lord.
Workforce shortages create real vulnerabilities.
That's a minute.
Healthcare even.
What's happening here?
Mention here.
One moment is worse.
Shows up in housing, where global capital flows and workforce mobility are putting pressure on supply and affordability. It shows up in tourism, where airline costs and shifting travel behaviors directly impact demand. That is every sector represented in the room, from small business to international business to insurance to reinsurance. And here is the part we need to be most honest about. It is not temporary. It's going to be ongoing. We don't have enough people in Bermuda to fuel our needs. So, and the labor market in the world is tight, although I can imagine that people in the Gulf, those kind of places, would be like, hey, Bermuda's looking really good stuff to work right now. But how do we make that happen? Like, what do we do? What should we do? How should we be approaching this?
From domestic standpoint, we need a coordinated market development strategy, and that is what the Ministry of Economy and Labour had been working on. That is why strategic priority 5 of the economic development strategy is investment in people. And so we understand that. Easier said to draft it and then actually put it in place. And so the education system is a big part of that. The education system needs to be the pipeline for stable employment opportunities for the people of the community. And so also having a better understanding of how careers are actually evolving, so that we have persons that are fit for purpose, meaning that the supply of labor matches the demand of labor that's required in order to match the economy.
So, social connectedness, how do you connect people at the bottom of the socioeconomic ladder with you people? Okay? Because I'm thinking that most of you guys are higher up the socioeconomic ladder. Traditionally, you people tend to connect your children with you people. we at the college tend to have an overabundance of people from down the socioeconomic level, lower socioeconomic status individuals. And so one of the things that we're doing with ABER and ILS Bermuda is to connect our students of first generation going to college, with people like you, whether it be with internships, lunch and learns, coming to conferences. We were here a couple of weeks ago, the ABER Risk Forum, and a couple of weeks before that, the BDA had a Risk Summit, and they had a special section called the Youth Summit. We, in the Trudeau Group, on the other side of this building, full of college and high school, both public and private students, giving them the tools that they will need to survive in the international business sector. Those are things that I think not just government, but that you people can do to help and level the playing field. Because this thing only works, you people making the money that you make in international business, median salary north of $170,000 a year. That's you folks. The only way you're gonna continue to enjoy that lifestyle is if people at the bottom believe that the system isn't rigged against them. They have to believe that the system is fair. That's what this whole game is about. And my fear is that folks at the bottom will see this game as being one that they can't win.
Talking about the workforce and touching on immigration, I think there are two things that we have to do. We certainly have to create a pathway for Bermudians to be able to get into the workforce, and we need to do everything that we can in order to do that through the college and through scholarships and internships. But on the other side, I think there needs to be an efficient process for us to be able to bring in the talent that we actually need as well. I mean, ABER, we have a lot of bodies on the ground here. It's over 2,200 that we employ among our 37 member companies. We are probably the single largest private sector employer. 70% of our workers are Bermudians. So part of the question is, well, are we going to get to 99%? Is that realistic? I mean, we run global businesses. We have to be globally competitive, and we need the very best talent that we can. So in addition to the scholarships and the sort of overseas placements that we place individuals on, we do have work permit needs, and it's not just our sector as well. It's also healthcare. There's a need at the hospital for nurses, so I am touching on that now.
We're going to talk about healthcare. We're going to talk about healthcare just as a bigger topic, just that way.
But I think that there are things that we can do so that we can ease some of the frictions, such that we can get folks here that we need more efficiently.
I think you're seeing us amend our immigration laws to be more flexible on permanent residency and residential certificate holders. And so we have made a shift in that particular direction. But what you understand is that we do have a demographic challenge in Bermuda. We can take a number of approaches that's being as conservative as Japan actually is, and be less open to immigration, or we understand in order for us to have a sustainable economy, there needs to be a mixed policy approach, and I think that's what we've moved forward with. And so we've made provisions to ensure that persons can have long-term residency in Bermuda, while also, as much as we possibly can, trying to reduce some of the costs associated with living in Bermuda, and also reduce taxes to increase the personal power of Bermuda so it be more favorable for them to raise families.
Thank you. We're going to move on to the cost of...
I'm going to make a comment on that topic. Country of expats.
1 minute. Go for it.
Hey, you cut me down, my friend.
I am. Let's move on. Go ahead. As strong as you can.
Bermuda is... Culture is not static. It's always evolving. We had people washed up here on the way somewhere else. We had people brought here who didn't want to be here. They brought here against their will, right? We had people who came here for economic opportunity. We had people who came here and were given economic opportunity unfairly against people who were already here. We had people still coming here for economic opportunity. And what it means Bermudian is different for all of those people. And we are shrinking. The born Bermudian population is shrinking. We have to get our, we can't just be we can't lock it in amber and say that's what it is. It's going to evolve, and we have to be open-minded to that while always protecting, what is the essence of Bermudian, but also be open-minded to what it can be.
There you have it. Those of you who have a perspective from what you just heard. Let me ask this question. I mean, it's interesting listening to those gentlemen speak. And like I said, I would want to listen to the full complement of that sit-down conference, lunchtime, annual meeting. But I want to hear from you. Go ahead. You're on All Fronts.
Dr. Lou.
Yes, sir.
Craig Simmons.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if he remembers that he and his committee that was working for the OBA at the time is the airport, and they forgot to put that insurance in place, which meant that what's it, ACON? And so far, how much have they gotten of free money from the Bermudian taxpayer?
Right.
Over $60 million.
Right.
Yeah. Does he forget also that with the Morgan's Point, over $220 million that the taxpayer had to pay? Yeah. Does he also forget that the OBA allows St. Regis Hotel to put 65% foreign workers in that hotel? Yeah, how quickly these guys forget? You see?
And so when a Craig Simmons says it's about the social connections, is it also from your perspective in those social connections? I'll use the St. Regis as an example. The need or the necessity to assure, and we got the Southampton Fairmont coming up, and we say what 70% of Southampton Fairmont is to be Bermudian employed. Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
So, in your argument, this is bringing into it again some of the labor issues. Those are some of the things that we, especially when we listen to what when we take in what we just heard,
right.
We would need to create those type of balances that go along with employment of Bermudians, housing for Bermudians. Yeah. With it comes better health care or insurance coverage for Bermudians through whatever employment plan, we're using the hotels as an example, but that's part of what you're that you're addressing.
I mean the wages.
Yeah, and even in terms of raising that. I mean, what are we thinking in terms of a living income in Bermuda, recognizing that the cost of living continues to escalate and will. We won't see any daylight anytime too soon, people. Not with what's going on in the Middle East. Yeah, we're not going to see any daylight with that anytime too soon.
The first tape that you played, and then I think it was the tape you played with the gentleman's name, was it David from the Barbados?
Oh yeah, Ambassador Commission. Yeah.
Right. And he was saying how their birth rates have decreased, and a lot of the young people were leaving and going to other countries.
Right.
Remember that?
Right. I mean, it was shared in the first clip. I mean, we too are experiencing the same thing.
Right. And we're experiencing here because the cost of living here is untenable for a lot of our young people, and they're moving away.
Yeah. But as they're moving away, it doesn't necessarily mean they're moving away and making more children. Some may be taking the children that they had here, but that age demographic between the ages of 18 to 35 aren't making children.
Right. And
they aren't producing children.
It's just getting worse and worse, as I said earlier.
And it's not just unique to Bermuda, by the way.
Yeah. And the GHI is going up $50, and it's going to go up another $50 a month. It's like there's no end to this.
Well,
and they're complaining we need more Bermudians.
Well, again, we do, but there's as we say, we need more Bermudians. If we talk about the attraction, or what is it we need to do to re-engage our people who have left to return and find.
But look at this point. Dr. Lou.
But we as Mariko said, we would need more than just our people returning. But go ahead.
Right. But you're bringing a lot of foreigners here, and they're finding it difficult. And you got a lot of these foreigners living in, like you said, in an apartment. There's a whole lot of people in there, and you can't do that in Bermuda with Bermudian people, because that's not good for children's mentality. It's not good for their psyche.
Well, it's not even so much that you can't do it. It's just that people don't want to do it. People do it all over the world in similar circumstances. Culturally, Bermudians are not inclined to, today at least,
but
unless you go back 50, 60
too many
years.
People in a house, and every time you look around, there's a person there. I mean, for the size of the house, if it's a real big house like I mentioned, okay, fine.
Yeah.
You can put a lot of people in it. But a 2 or 3 bedroom house, and you've got an excessive amount of people, there are like 2 families living in a 2 or 3 bedroom house, that's not good.
But it also raises the question. I mean, who was it? I think I saw something in the newspaper which also speaks to this issue. Who was it? Dwayne Trott, seeking to build new housing developments in the St. David's area. That is somewhat a solution to some of our housing issue, and not just somewhat of a solution. Let's hypothetically, hold on. Let's say hypothetically, he builds 2,000 homes. I'm just hypothetical in St. David's. Well, that makes for an entirely renaissance of the St. David's community. It will be interesting what will become of the St. David's population demographics when that housing developed is designed and developed. Who will populate it?
Taking place, Dr. Lou, that's already happened.
No, I'm talking about building it. They haven't built it yet.
No, I'm saying what you're saying has already happened in St. David's. The houses that they put down there just up top of the hill by the battery.
Yeah.
The majority of the people, or nearly all the people, or if not all, living in those houses are people from other parts of the island.
Right.
Now, the St. David's Island.
When you say other parts of the island, are you saying other Bermudians? Other Bermudians? What is the demographic racially? Are the black Bermudians, or what is the demographics?
I believe that the majority may be black, but some white people living there as well. But they're from other parts of the island. Now, the St. David's Islanders, I don't know if you remember this, they made a big fuss. But then the government said to them, well, the places were sitting there, and none of you came and applied for it.
Right. And I see the same thing with
other people said, well, hey, let's go and move in them.
I say this, with what's going to be developed by Dwayne Trott.
They're putting houses up by the battery where that nursery school was.
No, I get it.
It's congested up there. You can't.
Yeah.
Why are you putting houses up there? It's congested. Where are you going to have parking?
Yeah.
We can park next to the battery.
Yeah.
They're jamming houses in little jammed up spots. You want to put things.
Well, let's see where this development goes. Let me take the next caller.
Middletown and Middletown and St. David. That's no good.
Let me take the next caller. Thanks a lot. Good night, you and old friends. Oops. Good night, you and old friends.
Yes, good evening, Lou. How you doing?
Doing well.
Listen, we suffer from short memory disease.
All right.
I swear we do.
Freshen our memory for us.
Okay, one. Let's take the Bermudiana site up on South Shore there.
Right. It was someone else earlier brought that up. Go ahead.
Yeah, we constantly hear $7,000 and $3,000 rent and all that. I'm pretty sure I heard the Burt administration. Matter of fact, I heard Colonel Birch that those places are not for us.
When they were first developed, with the intent. It was developed for us until people decided they didn't favor that property for, of course, it was something to do with, and I know people had their anxieties or fears in terms of where they were built and so forth.
And the boogeyman.
Talking
about they're going to fall off.
They're going to fall off the cliff and all of that. Yeah.
And all that craziness.
And people fell for that.
Then it went from low-income housing to a hotel project. Went from the hotel project right back to what it is now. So where we're at now, the government, the administration said, those places are not for us, and that was that. And that's where they're at now, because I was online just last night, and I see them up there advertised 2 bedrooms for $7,000, 1 bedroom for $4,900,
right?
Just under $5,000, something like that. So they're out there and they're on the market.
Yeah.
So if you could afford that, then that's it. But when they said that they're not for us, then they're determined not to put us up there. Another thing that I constantly hear is about all these houses, the housing situation that they're going to build. Dr. Lou, if they gave out...
You mean the housing that Minister Zane spoke to?
Right.
Yeah.
The way I look at it is like this. I heard the Minister Hayward say that 18 Bermudians got jobs, and they gave out 500 plus work permits. Now, I just heard you ask the gentleman, who's living in the places now in St. David? Yeah. So after they construct all of this new housing, whether it be containers, whether it be carport, who do you think is going to live in them? If we don't have the people on the island to occupy those places, who's going to live in them? The last thing I heard was like 300 people on the Bermuda housing list that's looking for housing. I don't know. I know that financial assistance doesn't keep a list like that because they don't provide housing.
Right.
They provide assistance.
I think, what is the charity home to do some stats in terms of the number of persons requiring
and I
rental
also
homes or whatever.
Trying to get the Bermudians come back home. If they come back home, 1, where are you going to put them? 2, where are they going to work?
Yeah.
What are they going to do? I have my son's godfather home right now. Just came back. 2 bachelor's degrees and cannot find work on this island. You know what he tells me? My bags are still packed. And my passport is still valid. That's what he says. So
well, I'll say he must have, wherever he left somewhere where I'm sure he was looking for a job.
Well, what it is that, remember, I just said he only has 2 bachelor degrees.
All right, so?
President Trump moved the HB1 visa.
There you go.
You need now a master's degree to go and work in the U.S. And the company is going to pay $100,000. That's that's another impediment that you can probably find a lot of people coming out of the U.S. unless they're going to go over to England.
As was shared in the earlier clip, there is an exodus of Americans going to, whether it's Canada, UK. Some are going also to places like Costa Rica.
Yeah.
Panama is definitely a big go-to place for many people, and also the African continent, namely Ghana, where else? Tanzania. Nigeria. But that's what we see going on. But let me take the next call.
At Ghana or Dubai at this point.
Well, Dubai is not a go-to place right now. I can tell you with what's going on in Iran. There's an exodus. There's an exodus in Dubai right now.
In Dubai right now?
Yeah, because of what's going on with Iran.
Right.
But thanks a lot.
I was just hitting up on your housing situation. That's all.
Well, like I said, the housing situation, when we think in terms of it, and it would be great to have a conversation even with Dwayne Trott in terms of the proposal that he had on the table that he put out there in terms of housing in the St. Davis area.
What I think that interesting is how many work permits is the immigration department is going to give just for the Fairmont property if they need 700 jobs and they can't get Bermudians to
well, they said the aim is to have at least 70% employees that are Bermudians.
70%?
70, that's what they said, yeah. Thanks a lot. Good night, you're on all fronts.
Well, they said the aim is to have at least 70%.
Turn your radio down.
Hey, sorry about that, man.
Yeah, go ahead.
I didn't realize I got through.
Yeah, you got through.
Hey, man, you're in demand. Anyway, I just wanted to hit on, I've had that question asked a few times about how have we benefited
as
associate members of AMERIKKKA. I did some extensive research because I said, people are asking this question, are we really benefiting from association? And the reality is, we have been quite often benefiting. Matter of fact, if you really look at what is happening in terms of everything we do, it's around our support by CARICOM.
Yeah.
Even public health. We're all supported by the regional medical emergency a board that chairs and has a relationship and collaboration with Bermuda.
Right.
Because we are closely associated with CARICOM, and without that, we're not going to have that type of support.
Right.
And, you've got regional advocacy and solidarity, which, Bermuda's, supported by CARICOM in any debate or debacle against the UK that's currently in existence and has been utilized.
So let me ask you this here then, if that's your perspective. I mean, can universal benefits, can we benefit from those universal benefits?
Yeah,
or can universal benefits be of value to us?
Put it this way.
Can they work in Bermuda?
It's going to be working because our ability to be able to change the UK's mind, or even the recent situation with cargo ships, it was because of our association with CARICOM that we were able to be exempted. And people thinking that was just a Bermuda thing. And the reality is it wasn't. It was because of our association with CARICOM, disaster recovery. I mean, it's a regional network that supports one another, in natural disaster. And we knew that just by our involvement in helping Jamaica recently. And they would be obligated to do the same for us because of our association. Otherwise, we've got to look strictly to the UK or America or whoever else can help us. But because of that connection, and of course, let alone the increased diplomacy, involving high-level summits, and partners. When you're talking about summits in Africa and the Middle East, and hence in economic relationships, it's because of our association with CARICOM, not only just Bermuda alone, collaborating and being able to we have more weight, in other words, because of our associate membership, which has been being utilized because CARICOM backs us whenever we have to debate these things. If the Premier is away, or the Minister is away, as an example, in recently in Saudi Arabia. Discussing, well, that is backed by CARICOM. So his voice alone doesn't carry as much weight. Now, if you're not a member, then you're not got that extra weight behind you, so, that alone, I mean, everything, environmental action, and of course, something well out of the world, Lou, that is the cultural and sporting connection, in order to compete in Caribbean games and be a part of that. It's because of our associate membership in CARICOM.
Right.
So people think what? We're not benefiting or gaining any mileage. Yes, we are. We're just looking to further that mileage. You know what I mean? And benefit more by having a voice where we can be at the table and make the decisions.
Well, I think a full membership remains to be seen in terms of even in terms of what decisions we would make at the table. Certainly, it'll be a part of decisions of the regional implications and input. Certainly, economically. Partnering around even social issues, those type of things. But let me take the next call. But go ahead.
The reason for my poll was to saddle the minds of those who think we're not benefiting from associate membership.
Right.
Whether your argument is full membership or not. And, so you could at least feel confident in that regard.
I mean, I think the fact that we have seen leadership from St. Kitts and Nevis return, come to the island, use that connection to, manifest a renewed relationship with the extended family of us is an example of a CARICOM relationship to me.
That's right.
Yeah.
But not only that, everybody's big on Mia Motley, in the international arena, making ground in terms of encouraging.
Well, yes, her United Nations presence has had some value.
Nobody looks at it like we're benefiting from that, or just representing us as well.
Yeah.
So, we just need to kind of research it more and try to fully understand it.
I agree.
All right, brother.
Thanks a lot, my brother. Okay. I got to share this here, and I see you call us. And this is from an online response coming out of the UK. And he says, Dr. Lou, I'm listening, and I already hear echoes of Build Back Better and Make America Great Again. Same orchestra, different conductor. But, let's call it straight. And he says, when you look at the issues of the labor shortages, inflation, all of those things, as Craig Simmons pointed out, it's geopolitics stupid. Actually, Craig didn't say that. I said that. He goes on to say he says the game is global, but the pressure is local. And certainly tonight we hear the local pressure in the response to the global context. And he says, the people at the bottom are the ones feeling it first and hardest. And there's no disagreement about that. I think that's part of the argument of Craig Simmons. The question he asks, is the real question. Him talking about Craig Simmons. How do you people on 170,000 keep living nice if the ones at the bottom stop believing the system is fair? And so he says, the simple answer is you can't, because one's belief in the system collapses. Once belief in the system collapses, he says, the system follows shortly after. And when you listen to that, that's what Shahid Bolson was saying. Build back better, make America great again. And when you listen to those statistics that he runs off, the wealthiest country in the world, its own people are at the bottom of that ladder. And so when you bring into it Sam Altman, and I wanted to, address that, Sam Altman with universal basic income, this is something that's real, people. It's interesting and looking at the countries who are where are they? I had them here. There are a number of countries that are already. Please hold, caller. Turn your radio down. There are a number of countries that are already flirting with universal basic income. Brazil, Canada. Who else? I'm got it here. Canada, Finland. Finland is one. India, of course. Hong Kong, Germany. Indonesia, Iran, Italy. These are all countries that, to some degree, provide universal basic income to its citizenry. And when you look at the list of other countries who are exploring it, but like I said, it's in the United States too, exploring it. Switzerland, Liberia, Namibia, South Korea, Israel, Marshall Islands, Australia. These are countries that are exploring or piloting some form of universal basic income. So, it's just interesting in terms of the global politics. And when we talk about the correlation to what's happening geopolitically and what's happening locally, domestic politics, we can certainly make connections. But when we talk about connections or social connections, I'm keen in terms of what are some of those social connections. I know Craig Simmons brought up some of those things, but I'll be keen to want to know what are some of those social connections that can be referenced, that can be considered in the context of this whole issue around social connections in terms of the whole living arrangements or living conditions in Bermuda. Sorry, caller, go ahead.
Hey, hi, Lou. How you doing?
All right.
Yeah, I still have, about talking about CARICOM. I still haven't heard the biggest investors in CARICOM talk the Gibbons Empire. Let's say the Gibbons Empire, CG United, CG Insurance.
All right.
Right? And nobody wants to bring them into this conversation. They could surely tell you the benefits of being part of CARICOM. Mm-hmm. Since they're investing so heavily in it.
Well, they have extended their businesses that are here across the Caribbean. Yeah?
Oh, so that's such a terrible place to be.
Who said it's a terrible place to be?
You would think it is coming from the anti-CARICOM people.
All right.
And when the show first started, what was it about? Let me go to corporate income tax.
Mm-hmm.
Right? No, when they was having the corporate income tax meeting, before they knew how much, money would, we look at. I went to the meeting at St. Paul's, right? And very interesting. But what struck me was that the Chamber of Commerce representative talked about Bermuda's extremely regressive tax system, right? We're making so much money here. A few years ago, I was sitting down All Boys Point, my lunch hour. Fella just came up to me. We sat on the bench and we was looking down towards the hospital where the company stormed, the company stormed, and he said to me, these people were making trillions, sir. I was listening to, we had a conversation. But, Lou, if you just look at it now, these companies are making trillions.
Mm-hmm.
All you have to do is Google and put in Bermuda insurance, like trillions, right? All the information comes up. 2025 trillion right? Trillion. These people are in the trillions, right? And we're getting a billion. We're getting $1 billion.
Well, that's why I'll say this here in terms of the corporate income tax. All right, and let me just say this here because you brought it up. Let me just say this here. You know, even if a universal basic income will be very difficult in Bermuda, chiefly because of something that you raised. You know, when you talk about addressing the corporate income tax, Bermuda's tax base is too small, number one, which would make it very difficult to have a full universal basic income, right? And actually, you know, the argument is out there that if what is more feasible, and we are going to have some conversation about it in the future, what is more feasible is a universal health coverage. That's probably more feasible. But the challenge of a universal health coverage, even in Bermuda, also is a very expensive venture, given the healthcare costs and reliance on imports in Bermuda. That makes it real difficult. So these are things that I believe that when we have these discussions and understand the implications of the geopolitics, and even taking the challenge of Craig Simmons' questions to the panelists, you know, you people, I mean, who relate to you people, I mean people like them, much of what I heard in that short clip, and like I said, it's unfair to judge too much of what persons have said without hearing the full complement of that meeting. But what is clear in what I heard is much of it reflects on, and especially from an education perspective, of appealing to corporate Bermuda with youth personnel who they can mentor, they could do internships to the benefit of growing their industry. And all of us know that Bermuda requires a much more diversified economy, a diversified employee across multiple businesses and industries to the benefit in Bermuda. And you can throw tourism in there also as something that we need to diversify to maximize its greater value beyond a 17-week tourist industry. Yeah.
Yeah, then you started off, but you talked about Make America Great Again. That's making comparisons. Now, we have the two Bermudas. And first thing we're going to be aware of, how much money is being made here and how much money is. Yeah. And then it's the two Bermudas, right?
That whole black-white divide.
The whole black-white divide.
Yeah.
The two Bermudas.
No, you think Charles can do something about that? I'm just being facetious, but go ahead. Yeah.
No.
Hell no, but go ahead.
Okay. You know, even remember, this is the Britain's biggest tourist attraction. They don't run the country. Right? And they got to be aware of, I will come back to CARICOM again. You know? The potential, right? The potential. Potential's obviously been realized by the business class, right? But they don't want the left hand to know what the right hand said what's happening, because that is what's happened.
Yeah, and I think that
have you seen? No, I'm spoke to you a few times about this. You know, I'm looking on other talk shows, right?
Go ahead.
It's never brought up about Bermudian business being done in CARICOM. Never. But they're there. Big time.
Yes.
Bad for them. You know, it's never brought up. Because, you know, by...
But those are... It's great that those are Bermudians who have businesses there, but how does it benefit Bermuda's people?
Well, the opposite.
All right. It's great.
Benefiting them.
No, it's benefiting them. But again, it comes back to what people are speaking to here, right? It's great that we have that representation. There are Bermudians who have businesses in the United States. There are Bermudians who have businesses in Canada. Bermudians have businesses in the UK, right?
Yeah.
And those businesses may benefit the extension of those people's families here in Bermuda. But
don't want you to know that it's Bermudian business on there, right?
I would go further. I would ask this question. I mean, look, Bermudians can set up businesses anywhere, Canada, UK, they're all over. Bermudians do that. The bigger picture is this here, and it's interesting. The other part, or panelists that was sitting there was, what's his name? Stefano. And I believe he had an interesting, he was talking about, I think he said, was talking earlier, it was an earlier segment he had, I saw it in the week, with Gary Skelton. And was about the shipping. I think Skelton asked a good question, a very great question in terms of, Bermuda has one of the largest registries of ships globally,
got a good registry.
Right?
Yeah,
we have a very good registry. It's respected globally, right? Who's who in the shipping industry registers here in Bermuda. And I believe there was a question that was put there, and I'm placing this in the context of your argument, right, that conserved the greater Bermuda. And the question was put forward in terms of what about the appeal or the public interest in terms of Bermuda having its own ship, where, for example, we have our own ship, then for trading purposes in terms of our high income market trade with the single market economy in the Caribbean, we can engage in some of the trade with the Caribbean using our own ship that would help and assist us from a import perspective or export perspective, right?
Yeah,
we would benefit from having our own ship. We don't have that. We don't have our own for that purpose. And why isn't that something that is discussed and talked about even more as a possibility?
Yeah, and one more thing I want to say to you. Then that's in cricket. That invest in this was doing really good.
70s, 80s, early 80s, yeah.
Right. This is a few years ago. I think that real good.
Certainly in the 70s and 80s. Let's say 70s.
And
for about 15, 20 years straight.
I think the golden period for them ended like 2008. It was thousands of Bermudians going down to invest in this for Test cricket.
Of course.
It became extremely popular. Thousands of people were going down to the West Indies.
But I'll say this here: the West Indies itself. And they're looking to re-emerge, but the West Indies itself didn't build upon that success, right? Comparatively. The English still, Test cricket itself does not have the popular public appeal compared to that era. 2020 cricket seems to has taken over, but Test cricket still has some appeal to people, but the West Indies, the West Indies, when you take what you gave as an example, right? When the West Indies cricket was at its peak, so was tourism in the Caribbean, across the Caribbean. So was tourism. So even here, Bermuda was a beneficiary of the dominance of West Indies cricket, right? So that is something to even take in consideration when we talk about the correlation of a CARICOM to a Bermudian economy and tourism and so forth. Again, And like I said, the West Indies is doing as much as it can to improve the quality of its role in the international cricket arena. Whether or not it will get back to that level of dominance remains to be seen. But at least if they improve their product, meaning the cricket product, I'm sure it'll, have some type of marketing appeal comparable to what, or close to what, it was 70s and the 80s, but they got to improve the quality. We're not saying the same thing, but what we're saying is they had the sport industry, and cricket, of all the sports, was the attraction that supported their tourism economy. And Bermuda was also a beneficiary of that industry. That's all I'm saying. Thanks a lot, caller.
Okay.
Right.
Good evening.
Good evening. So, we've had some spirited conversation. The lines are lighting up. I'm going to take about one or two more. Go ahead, caller. You're on the air.
Don't worry, man. Bermuda's still benefiting thanks to you saying both. But, track and field's taking over now. But cricket's not a big commodity no more in the Caribbean. Everybody wants to be a track star.
Yeah, but track they do, but the track does not do for the Caribbean what cricket did.
Yeah.
It doesn't do for the Caribbean what cricket did.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, cricket and soccer is the world's largest sport.
True.
So I can agree with that. But my point was that there has been a replacement to some degree.
Well,
which is helpful.
Yeah, that replacement has been more to do with the success, the dominance of the track teams in the major world championships, the Olympics, all of that. We say correct. Yeah. All of those meets. Still, it gives an attention. It has given somewhat of an attention to the success that comes out of the Caribbean, if you want to say CARICOM, that comes out of the Caribbean in terms of its athletics, namely Jamaica, Trinidad, Bahamas, St. Lucia, in terms of their role, especially during the Olympics. And you even throw Bermuda in there. I mean, hey, we have our Olympian, our latest Olympian in terms of Flora Duffy. And so,
our Caribbean 100 superstar.
and our latest, who represents maybe a future boat.
Yeah.
So, but the point that I'm making though is, and what the caller was getting at, that sport is more individualized that it doesn't drive enough of the economy. When we think in terms of what West Indies cricket was, right, and CARICOM, it helped to generate their economies, especially through tourism, and Bermuda also was a beneficiary of that success.
Don't underestimate the power of Caribbean.
No, I'm not, because it's got youth in it. But I just maintain that it's not the same as what a dominant cricket team will do to a Caribbean economy.
Right, and remember, Caribbean transcends track and field. They talk about swimming, they talk about cycling, and
of course,
and growing,
of course.
But the reason I called was. I just wanted to give a little input regarding the universal basic income.
Yeah.
I tend to think a little bit the opposite from you in terms of our size and how we can benefit from it. We need to draw some of that fund that we're taking advantage of to assist in that area, because whether we like it or not, AI is coming.
Oh yeah, AI is not coming. AI is here. AI is here.
jobs are going to go.
AI is already here.
And there's going to have to be some means of subsidizing the community. And it's inevitable, in my opinion. It's just the way we do it that's important, and how we utilize that funding or gain that funding. But that will drive the future economy and certainly help to eliminate poverty if we're to maintain our standards.
Well, you do make a great point about that. Universal basic income, actually, I mean, Altman, when he addressed this or put that out there, he put it out there as a ways and means of eradicating poverty.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Now,
that's right. And it's working. It's working in countries. So it ain't like it's not like it's not been tested.
Yeah, and when I just read it off in those countries, it's not across the entire country. It's in certain regions of the country who implement universal basic income. So I just want to make that clear. It's not the entire country, but it's in places like Brazil, Canada, where they do implement in their provinces or so forth universal basic income.
Well, the great thing about it is the potential for individuals to improve, regardless of needing the help here and there, is there compared to, say, socialism, you know, where there's an expectancy. You know, so, you know, we don't want to reach a point where it's work disincentive. You know what I mean? So, that would be the only negative, in my opinion, anyway. Yeah, but
appreciate you all the way, baby.
No problem.
All right.
See you later.
All right. Take care. All right, we're going overtime. We love going overtime every now and then, but people, like I said, I want to do a part two. I want to investigate, examine this some more. I really want to listen to the full complement of that lunchtime and tie it into. I may not use another segment of Shade Bolson. Because it will be open mic next week. Before we follow up, actually on, let me see, May 13th, I know we have coming in the Brown family, landmark case. And we talk about issues of reparations and fight back for what's yours. That family is to be upheld as a model. So we are near. We'll get some insight in terms of where they are with that fight with the courts. Lines lighten up, people, but hey, maybe next time we'll go overtime. But hey, we're gonna close out tonight. Once again, on Sunday, Victory, 1981 documentary. Or the documentary on the 1981 general strike. That'll be featured at 6 p.m. That'll be at the Devonshire Recreation Club. Given that it's open mic next week, I know that tonight Curtis Dickinson threw his hat into the ring for the leadership of the Progressive Labor Party first, and then possibly the country. So we will see. We know that Jason Hayward is also contesting, as is Bermuda. You always hear some rumor there's a third person, almost like a big secret, but no. We'll wait and see what will come up out of this next week. So feel free to call in next week. And, like we say on all fronts, we don't fight on any one front. We fight on all fronts. Keep the peace.
Bermuda Live on YouTube. Subscribe now.